Good morning everyone, welcome to this week's weekly outlook. We're going to start off here on the monthly as always doing our top-down analysis. So monthly picture of course doesn't change very regularly, so as I've said before, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I'll recap over some points, right, for those that haven't seen this before to catch up on. So where are we here on the monthly? Most recently, we had this bullish leg, right? From this dealing range low to this dealing range high. Price had taken sell side liquidity, mitigated a bullish imbalance, created that bullish move there, and ultimately ended up at this bearish imbalance here and order block, right? These two up candles, taking the buy side liquidity from these previous months high, just at that imbalance, of course, and also the buy side liquidity from these previous months high here as well, before what looks like we've topped out with this high test type doji candle here. Okay, so you can see where we took the buy side liquidity and ultimately that month closed out with this sort of high test wick. So what I see now is as a monthly pullback scenario, right? So within this dealing range, we have our premium and our discount. So the discount is here in this blue box. So what I'm foreseeing is for price to continue as a monthly pullback towards discount, towards this equilibrium here, where we have our draws on liquidity, which are a bullish imbalance here, this green box, and then we have our BPR, which is the bullish imbalance covered by a bearish imbalance, okay, overlapping. So I see this as the ultimate draw on liquidity for that monthly time frame if this pullback plays out. Okay, our near-term liquidity targets are of course November low, and then after that we have our August low here. So if price is to continue bearish, of course these will be our points here. This is going to take many months if we do pull down to here. So this is what we'll be concentrating on in terms of our short-term targets. So I hope that's clear. We're in a premium. I believe we could still be heading towards a discount. We have our draws on liquidity there for price to be drawn towards. So that's the monthly. And the overall theme is a monthly pullback, which means bearish on the other time frames, trending of course. So let's go down to the weekly. Let's see what that looks like. Now the weekly picture hasn't changed much as well since the last video. We've of course finished last week with this bullish candle. Now it has come above and taken buy side liquidity from many previous weeks highs here, as you can see. And we are at the moment kind of retesting this inverse fair value gap here. So let me explain some points for those that may not have watched previous videos. We had this imbalance here that held price. You can see it started holding the price candle bodies at this midpoint here. We went above that, took the buy side liquidity and into that monthly imbalance there, had our nice high test wick candle, which I've highlighted, and then began to move bearish. So we moved on to the other side of that imbalance, and then you could see the candle bodies and wicks started to reject and respect this midpoint here of the imbalance. So that's the only real PDA that I have to go on, because there isn't many clear PDAs here on the weekly, right? You can see we had clear imbalances and order blocks previously, but once we topped out in this bullish trend here, price has been quite consolidated. And yes, we have like order blocks that we can point out, but they're not high probability order blocks because they don't have imbalances. So not to confuse, but this is mainly what I'm using at the moment, right? We have come below the imbalance. We may still continue to use that as resistance to push us down and head for those November lows, August lows, right? And of course we have our previous weekly lows in between here, which of course will be separate targets on our lower time frames anyway. Remember, with the overall theme being monthly pullback towards these draws on liquidity, which will be the driver for our possible bearish trend. The weekly again is yet to really break its dealing range. We have the dealing range low here, dealing range high here. So we can't say we're in a bearish trend. We're still bullish at the moment in terms of the structure. So as I've noted here, unclear weekly perspective, bearish order flow could continue, but we're awaiting that daily price action. And why I'm awaiting the daily price action is because the weekly is a bit less clear here, but I've drawn in what I can use at the moment. We could probably even remove this order block here, which was more relevant when we rejected it there. So we'll see if this area here holds. So I hope that's clear. You see where we're clearly trending higher, taking out buy side liquidity targets, and at the moment we're kind of just consolidating and using this imbalance here as resistance and support. So with that being said, I think we can move on to the daily, as that will be the main time frame I'll be monitoring from the higher time frames for our trading. So the daily picture, let's just go through this quickly because it's slightly changed. It's a bit less confident as it was, right, for our bearish order flow we was having. You can see we were making our lower lows, lower highs, bearish order flow, more importantly respecting bearish PDAs, right, OTE, imbalance, order block, rejected, lower low, taking out sell side liquidity targets, pulling back, OTE, inverse fair value gaps, BPRs, bearish BPRs, rejecting ultimately and going lower. Now our most recent leg here has created this high. So we do have possible signals now that price may have switched order flow. So we have what we was trading in a market maker sell model with this buy side curve into a sell side curve. We didn't complete that because we didn't reach this August low target down here. However, if I show you DXY did. So DXY, this high here, we came above it with this high here, right? So you can see we had that divergence from this low on EU to this low here. Now, at the time, I'm still comfortable with trading lower, looking for that to be completed. But now we've got some sort of signal that we may actually be reversing. We could potentially turn now into a market maker buy model, targeting these highs if the daily wishes to go that far. That is not confirmed yet. However, we can't ignore this, right? We've taken the buy side liquidity from above this high and this high here, right? But these were fairly weak highs. They weren't strong highs like we was creating before, taking buy side liquidity and creating lower lows, right? But price has taken those highs and now we've come down, mitigated a bullish imbalance here. Price may continue bullish at least up until this previous weekly high. But for now, until we get price respecting bullish order flow, bullish POIs and PDAs, I'm more neutral on the daily, neutral / bullish for the moment with this PDA here. Being aware that a monthly could still drive us lower. We could have just come up here for a more of a complex sort of continuation where we're taking this buy side liquidity. We do have SMC here as well, okay? So where DXY did not come below that low. So DXY could still continue bullish, right, coming for those previous highs, and we could still break down bearish coming for these lows. Okay, so there is SMC up here as well. So we'll see how far that goes. But like I said, we've got this bullish PDA here, a previous weekly high here. Price may want to take that if we are to then head lower first, right? So we may get a high of the week on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then price make a further bearish move. Right, so we are at sort of more complex point here on the high time frame, on the daily, where we have made a high, yes, but that's not confirmed. Until we start creating more order flow, another high, another leg, right, respecting some bullish PDAs here, which is the most important, right, the respect of bullish PDAs and POIs to continue going higher, then I won't be confirmed just yet. Right? We have SMC the same way we had SMC or SMT here at this low to this low as well. So price could definitely continue its way down after taking a buy side liquidity above these highs. So I hope that's not too confusing. As I said, price could use this buy side liquidity, SMC, to make some sort of move lower again. Or we may in future start respecting these bullish PDAs, start making higher highs. Okay, so I'm a bit neutral, but we are coming from a bullish PDA at the moment and may want to continue that on a lower time frame. So that's enough with the high time frame. Let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that looks like for us for today. All right, 4 hour, as you can see, is still very bullish in its order flow. You can see respecting our bullish PDAs, right? As I said, we want to see on the daily to confirm a bullish outlook, high time frame outlook for the future. You can see where we're taking out these buy side liquidity highs. Now, in our most recent dealing range, right, from this low to this high up here, price has pulled back. Now we pulled back into a 4 hour imbalance, which is overlapping with that daily imbalance here. Price gave a nice low test into that on Friday. A lovely low test. As I've said here, potential continuation of bullish lower time frame order flow, okay, from the bullish PDA. So this does look good to me, right? We've created those very trend line highs here for price to come down and then continue going up, having a fractal market maker buy model, right, on the 1 hour, M15, etc., to come and target this, what I see as a draw on liquidity, right, for maybe half this week, again, to maybe set a high of the week on, say, Wednesday. So we've got that previous weekly high, which is our draw on liquidity at the moment. In my opinion, from looking at this lower time frame, I would want to follow this lower time frame order flow, especially with a daily bullish PDA on our side. Okay, so short term for now, I am bullish to this previous weekly high from the looks of things. Now I'll go into detail about this previous daily high and this red line here when we go down to the 1 hour. But look, we've got a nice solid bullish PDA base here, sell side liquidity taken down into our bullish POI here, and price has reacted bullish from there since opening again on Sunday/Monday today. So potential continuation there. So let's go down to the 1 hour. Let's see if that clears things up for us. Now I'll repeat myself again here on the 1 hour. I do like how this is forming for a potential bullish continuation here, right? We have our like trend line liquidity from these highs up here through this high. Now this high created an equal high, and as you know, price likes to target equal highs. Now this red line, it shows possible SMT or SMC. So if we look here at DXY, you're going to see DXY took this low out, which we made equal highs with here on EU. So we could be drawn towards this, and of course we have our previous weekly high draw on liquidity anyway. Okay, so DXY has taken sell side liquidity, pulled back. Now it's gone into its imbalance and order block here, right? We've pulled back and we don't have the same imbalance, but we have this inverted fair value gap slash BPR here. So you can see where we have this bearish imbalance and bullish imbalance, and look how price has respected that. 1 rejection, 2 rejections, and then we came below it, 3 rejections, 4 rejections, right, as resistance, gone back above it, and now we've got another possible rejection happening here, okay, which may provide that support to continue higher, targeting previous daily high again, and well, the pre-London open high, and then ultimately that previous weekly high. So just zooming in for a moment, we came above, we've got this leg from this low to this high so far, pull back down to this discount here, right, where the 0.5 is, into this BPR and inverted fair value gap here on the 1 hour. And by the looks of it, we're possibly going to reject that. You can see we've got this nice low test here. We're sort of rejecting it again here, taking the liquidity from even below that previous candle. So we're just going to wait for order flow from here to possibly start targeting the previous daily high equal highs here and previous weekly high. So this is my short-term target, especially for today, maybe to target this. We'll see if we take out this whole range. Today is Monday, so I don't expect price to be that quick, but we shall see. So draws of liquidity above, we had this SMT, we've pulled back into a possible bullish PDA now, right? And we've got a bearish PDA here on DXY for it to continue bearish, targeting those lows, right? Previous weekly high, previous weekly low here. So I do like this sort of trend line here. We have that overall bullish leg here. We pulled back into that overlapping PDA, had that bullish reaction from, created a new leg here on a low time frame, pulled back. Hopefully we reject this area here again, and we can start looking for order flow towards our targets. So let's see what the M15 looks like for us at the moment. So yeah, nothing major at the moment. You can see since we opened after that Friday close into Asia here, obviously we created a nice range. We've got our Asia lows here, and then throughout Asia we just started climbing higher. Pre-London open we spiked up, created that equal high, and since the London session we've just been pulling back towards this possible confluence here, right? So price may bottom out here. We may see something like that for us to then, of course, like I said, to make that target up here, right? And ultimately what that would be for us again would be a possible market maker buy model fractal, where we would have our sell side curve on this side, buy side curve on this side, possibly towards our previous daily high, and then ultimately our previous weekly high. So I do hope that is clear. We are looking for probably some order flow here on the M15. At the moment it's coming back bearish, so we'll wait for price to bottom out. We may come down to this low resistance Asia sell side liquidity here, so it would not surprise me at all if we pull back lower into this zone here first, and then we may see something and price start to, you know, climb higher towards that zone there. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how New York session looks for that. Again, it's a Monday, right? So price moves slowly. I make no presumptions here, but that's what looks nice and the most likely if we are to continue our overall lower time frame bullish trend and target these highs and then reevaluate. So again, it's a weekly outlook, but we are in that place, like I said, on the daily, where it can very quickly switch to neutral, still go bearish, still go bullish. We're not quite sure yet. So a bit less of that long-term foresight, but short-term, pre-DH and then previous weekly high as well as possible targets if we start respecting this zone here and continuing our order flow. So I hope that was clear. I know it's a bit more complicated now that we are in the situation we're in. So any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll see you guys next week.